Hi, this is Josh Kulp for Daf Shevui. We are learning Masechet Avodah Zarah, and we are up to Daf Tet Vav, page 15. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mishnah that really begins on the bottom of Yud Daled, but continues to be discussed throughout Daf Tet Vav, and potentially the pshat of the Mishnah and how the Gemara really does not read the Mishnah that way. Or at least not exactly that way. So the Mishnah says that in a place where it was customary to sell small animals to non-Jews, they can be sold. And in a place where it was not customary to sell small animals, then they shouldn't be sold. But in all places, we do not sell them large animals, or even young ones, such as young calves or young donkeys, broken or healthy animals, meaning animals that can be used for work and animals that can't be used for work. Neither of them are permitted. Rabbi Yehuda matir b'shura. Rabbi Yehuda allows one to sell a lame or a maimed animal, and Ben Batera allows one to sell a horse. And now, taken into its completion, the Mishnah, the question that really has to be asked is, what is the problem with selling animals to non-Jews? We may be tempted to think that perhaps the issue here is sacrifice. And we've talked about that earlier in the Masechet, that we wouldn't want to encourage idolatrous sacrifice. But that can't be really the pshat of this Mishnah, because there's a distinction being made here between large animals and small animals, and the law is more stringent when it comes to small animals. To large animals, because and we'd have to ask the question, what's the difference between small animals and large animals? The difference definitely is not in sacrificing. Small animals are very typical to be sacrificed in Jewish law and probably in pagan custom as well. So the answer seems that it can only be that the issue is work. That large animals can be used for work, and small animals generally can't. Therefore, with small animals, it's only a custom. And with large animals, there is a complete isur, prohibition. You can see that also by the machloket in the end, the dispute in the end. Rabbi Yehuda allows you to sell a maimed animal because it can't be used for work, and Ben Batera allows one to sell a horse because the carrying of a human being, which is typically what a horse was used for, is not considered work, technically speaking, according to halacha. So the big question, really, the Gemara, we see this throughout the Gemara debates, is, well, once you sell the animal to the non-Jew, the animal is working for the non-Jew, and if the prohibition that we're worried about is the mandate to keep your animal resting on Shabbat, well, Jews don't have a mandate to make sure that non-Jews, animals owned by non-Jews, do not work on Shabbat. So why should we really care that an animal owned by a non-Jew is working on Shabbat? And I think probably that question, the answer is really in hachinami, as we say in Aramaic. Yes, the Mishnah seems to think that once a Jew has owned an animal, the Jew is mandated to make sure that that animal never is put into a situation where it has to work again on Shabbat. Even if the Jew should sell the animal, the Jew has to make sure that that animal has a right to rest for the rest of its life, at least on Shabbat. And remember, the Torah mandates that the Jews' animals rest on Shabbat. This is obviously a concept that a way of thinking about halacha that we don't normally think in. We don't normally think that once you own something, you have responsibility for it forever. But there may be a parallel with something such as like slavery. Jews, the law is very resistant to Jews selling slaves to non-Jews, because that will put them in a situation where they'll be in an idolatrous atmosphere and will not be able to keep Shabbat. The Gemara doesn't really read it this way. The Gemara says it's all a decree lest you come to rent the animal, in which case the Jew still owns the animal, and then the animal can't be working on Shabbat. We also see that the Amoraim largely abandoned observing this prohibition. And it seems to be there's a little bit of an evolution from thinking that a Jew is mandated to make sure the animal rests, all animals rest, any animal that was once in his possession, to a Jew is mandated at most to make sure his own animals rest. It's a complicated subject, but the Mishnah seems to take a very stringent view on both Shabbat and the mandate for Jews to make sure that their animals at least, rest on Shabbat.